All right. Welcome back to Manage My Life 101 and O'Brien Fit. I'm Coach Mio, Coach ME, and I apologize. Yesterday's Father's Day. Had a lot of stuff go down. So I missed the last week, 2 weeks of posting video for here for YouTube. A lot of stuff went down, especially over the holiday weekend. Stuff that happened with my family and stuff. So we've been kind of off. I apologize. It's semi unprofessional on that level. I'm trying to make up for it now. Today is Monday, and we're going to talk about some issues that I've seen. And I'm going to direct you to a couple things. I'm going to try and keep this one short, about 10 minutes or so. I just had a 3-hour luncheon with my business partner, dealing with some stuff and some situations that have been happening. And we see more and more and more all the time. And so let's just jump right into it. What I see a lot going on with clients I've helped in the past when I was an actual mental health therapist, and having therapy sessions with people, stuff like that, before I transitioned over to becoming a life coach. A lot of stuff I saw was relationships and problems that happen in relationships. And one of the biggest problems I saw is lack of communication. Severe lack of communication, a lot of lying, just because they didn't want to deal with the situation, so they would lie. And it keeps going on and on and on. So, okay, a lot of people don't know the history here, so I'm going to give you a brief history. And it's not going to make sense to some of you people, but I swear to you it's the truth. So, I care. I care. But in getting to the point here, I don't care. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what your upbringing was, any of that. The point I'm making here is this. For the longest time, before a couple was allowed to get married, you had to go through so many weeks, so many sessions of marriage counseling with a pastor, a priest, a preacher, some high-ranking representative in whatever your religion is, whether it's Catholicism, Christianity, Hindu, doesn't matter. It's that in Hindu especially. They still have a lot of arranged marriages, and you have to go through so many hours, so many sessions of counseling. Now, the reason why we did this was because, one, to make sure your personalities were compatible with each other. And to teach you very, very necessary skills, such as how to properly communicate with each other, how to properly interact with stressful situations, how to deal with just situations in general, problem solving, troubleshooting, all of that. These are necessary skills. Now, before people start jumping at me and everything, I celebrated 21 years of marriage. In December, I will be married 22 years. My wife and I have had our roller coaster. Ups and downs, all of that. We've had issues, but we've always worked through it. We always communicate. We always sit down with the whole goal of how do we fix this situation. We are in this for the long haul. We're not in this to the first chance we get into a fight. It's F you, I'm gone, all of that. That's not what a marriage is. That's not what a relationship is. So the second part of this was for the longest time, they were doing different forms of testing to see how genetically comparable you were. I know that comes across as discriminatory, possibly racist, whatever, because there is a history where they would manipulate it to the point to where, especially here in America, they didn't like interracial marriages, Asian, white, black, Asian. They would manipulate it to where, oh, you're a bad genetic match, stuff like that. I'm setting all of that aside because that's not what this discussion is about. So, just from the science of it, we stopped going to, especially here in America, we as a society stopped going to church to do marriage counseling and the testing for compatibility and all of that right around the late 50s. Since that time, we have had massive population explosions of retardation, autism, Down syndrome, stuff like that, because you have people that genetically are not compatible. And so you have a lot of stillbirths, failed pregnancies with self-abortion, stuff like that, where just because the DNA is not compatible. So now you factor in other things too, like if they were a smoker or not, especially in the late 70s, early 80s, with a lot of heavy drug use, stuff like that. Yeah, that's a factor too. But just simply from a genetic standpoint, let's step back before you accuse me. Just hear me out. Step back and look at just donating blood. If you have to go to the hospital for surgery and they have to give you a blood transfusion, if you are AB, you can't receive blood from an A. It's not compatible. The only universal is O, and even then, type O still has issues where it's not 100% universal. I'm type O, and there are some people I can't donate to with my blood. That's just the way it's been broke down to me. So I'm not a scientist on that level. I don't claim to be, but I do have enough research and understanding of the stuff from looking into it, and because I'm generally curious and I like to understand a lot of things. And so I can't take okay, I'm a universal, but a type A blood type cannot donate blood to me. I have to get another type O. That's my understanding of it. If I'm wrong, somebody please correct me on that, but that's my understanding. That's how it was explained to me. But I can donate to 95% of type A's, but they can't donate to me because my blood is not compatible in the reverse like that. I don't know why that is, but that's how it was explained to me. So now we take situations like that, and now let's go back to the genetic side for marriages. This is why they would do a lot of these testings, because normally in 99% of the cases you get married, you want to have that spouse for life that you're going to get along with. You want to have children eventually in most cases. There are some people that don't want to have children. I'm not hating on you. Being a parent of a child is not for everybody. There are people that have 4 or 5 children that I swear should never have been parents, but they were blessed with children, and they still should not be parents. But that's neither here nor there. So the compatibility on that level is the genetic side. And with the genetics on that, it's there to eliminate all of the problems as much as possible, and to give you as high of a percentile chance as possible for success to have a happy, healthy, full birth with a happy, healthy child. But we have too many problems in there because nobody's doing that level anymore because people want to run away to Vegas and go through a drive-through and get married like Britney Spears did. And then 2 hours later, you realize you're still drunk, you're fighting, and you're hating each other. And it's like, why the hell did we get married? And you're filing for a divorce. I don't see them that extreme, but I see people all the time that are doing stuff like that. We're just going to run away and get married. You know the person all of 2 days, and now suddenly your first fight, she's crazy, he's crazy, you're insane, I can't deal with them. You don't have the proper skill set to learn how to communicate effectively between each other. You don't have the proper skill set to problem solve and troubleshoot the situations. You don't have the proper skill set to navigate the situations. So I see it all the time. You see it in the news. The celebrities really are all over the place with this stuff. But all you got to do is just open your eyes and look around. And I'm not saying be the nosy neighbor, but all you have to do is just listen and pay attention. And you can see people that are getting divorced, or they got together off of a one-night stand and thought, oh, we had fun, we're going to keep going. And suddenly a baby comes along and they're broke up off and on, they're miserable. And then you run into the far, which is a conversation for another time, but we run into the far deeper situations of females using the children as pawns instead of treating them as children. They're using them as a pawn or a tool to get back at the father. It happens a lot, and the father in turn uses the child to get back at the mother. And it just leads to miserable families, miserable households. There's just so many issues, and the blame just keeps going back and forth and back and forth. And what they need to do is sit down and just freaking talk and work stuff out. That's when you hire someone like me to come in, and we sit down, and I'm the third party, I'm the mediator, and all I'm there for is to listen to the side and help you problem solve it, because you may not be compatible with the other person. And that is 1,000,000% perfectly okay. There is no hate. There damn sure should be no judgment there. If you're not compatible personality-wise, then you're not compatible. But that does not mean that you should be playing that child as a tool to try and ruin the other person's life. You should be sitting down. You had a child together. You should be doing everything possible to get along respectfully enough to raise that child, educate that child, and give them the best life possible. Because now that child was just blessed with not one, but two families. You have, from that perspective, that child has a father and a stepmother, more than likely, and a mother and a stepfather. So 2 different families. You should be stepping up your game to helping each other out, to raise that child and take care of that child, not turn the child into an abused, messed up tool to use to get back at your ex. It just shouldn't be done that way. And I see this all the time. We have far too many broken households. It needs to stop. So these are tools that you get taught, supposed to get taught, when you go to these marriage counseling sessions before you ever get married. They're sessions to do role play on certain levels, to put you in situations so you can learn how to deal with that situation, to learn how to communicate. And essentially it all falls down to, are you even compatible with each other? Or is it just a drunken one night stand? You had fun, you're friends, get on with it. You know, you're not meant to be together on that level. That's what these sessions are about. Very, very, very rarely does it ever happen like what happened with me and my wife. My wife is my third wife. We met. I'm her second husband. We met 3 days later, we were engaged, and it took us 90 days to deal with some paperwork because of her ex to get stuff straightened out and run through the program and get married. So 3 days we were ready to get married. And if it hadn't been for the paperwork, we would have been. And despite all of that, we were mainly handling paperwork. We went and talked to the priest twice, and he married us. We've been together 21, almost 22 years. I'm not saying that to like belittle people or freak you out or anything like that. It does happen. It's rare, but it does happen. But overall, the majority reason why marriages and relationships are struggling so much and fail so much is because people are not willing to let go of their ego and to sit down and communicate and work through the problems, because they don't have the skills to do that. My adopted mother dated a guy that she really wanted to marry him. He wanted to marry her. But the way he was raised, he's almost 80 now. Okay, but the way he was raised, he just didn't communicate. He's very passive. I love the guy to death. He's a fantastic guy, great personality. He's a stand-up guy on every level. Very respectful, very, very respectable guy. You can't help but respect him. But he just doesn't communicate because he was raised in a generation where you don't talk about everything. It's not a manly thing to do, to just spill your guts and show emotions and all of that. He was brought up in a farming community, and it's suck it up, boys don't cry, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't just go whining to the woman for everything, you don't go whining to your friends about stuff. He's a very closed off, quiet person. And I have a couple of uncles that are like that, and it is what it is. But you have to understand that in order to make the relationship work. So that becomes the troubleshooting, problem-solving side. How do you make that work so that you're both compatible with each other, to really make it work so that you really love each other? Instead, you see too many people with bad diets getting too worked up, too stressed out, blowing up at each other over the stupidest and smallest of things, and the marriage is over, relationship is over, it's over, I hate you, go to hell, die. It's just insane with this. And it's because, honestly, a lot of these they started out as one night stands and went from there. So that's what the church was for on a lot of levels. It really was. They were there to be, they still are there to be a community leader for education. They're going to come at you with the religious side, obviously, because it's religion. It's that's their number one goal, is religion, is converting you and everything. So you have to kind of take that with a grain of salt when you go in there for that. But you have counselors out there, life coaches and marriage counselors and stuff, that you can set up a time and go talk to them, and that's what they're there for, is to help you work through all those problems. It's like, hey, I want to get married, we want to get married, but we want to go through a couple of sessions here and see what's what. A really good marriage counselor can do that for you. Therapist can do that for you. That's what we're here for. But people, a lot of us have a bad rap just in general, because every business, every tradition, every walk of life has a couple of bad apples and bad examples. It's just life. There's going to be bad with all the good. So that's what it is. That's the whole purpose of the yin yang, for people that don't know that. The yin yang circle is the white teardrop circling the black teardrop, and in the white teardrop it has that one little black dot, and in the black black teardrop, it has the white dot, which symbolizes white is supposed to be good and pure. So in all goodness, there is a little bit of darkness. And in all darkness, all evil, there's a little bit of good, a little bit of light. That's what that means. So you're never totally 100% bad. You're never totally 100% good. And it just goes from there. So moving on from that, not just from relationships on that level, but look about relationships with your family. How well do you get along with your siblings? How well do you get along with your parents? How well do you get along with your children if you have children? How well do you get along with coworkers and with friends? So communication is key. Problem solving is key. Interpersonal skills for communication like this are key. So moving forward with that, if you go to my page, facebook.com/MML101, you will find on there, just scroll down, you will find on there that the majority of my posts on there are part of a program that I'm actually turning into an ebook right now, and trying to turn it into possibly a semi-webinar for free to help people. This will be like the introductory to my program if you feel you want to hire me as a coach or whatever. But it's all about reorganizing your life, reprogramming your brain to be more positive, to think more positive, and to flush out all of the negativity, to recognize the negativity, the toxicity in your life on every facet of your life, and basically get rid of it. Now, you cannot totally get rid of every bit of negativity. It is rare that you can just walk away from a parent and never contact them again. It is rare circumstances that you can do the same with a spouse or a sibling. So there's a process in there that I discuss, and I ask people to share. Please share. I'm trying to build the group up. Share your experiences. If you have questions, I want it so that others can help you with other techniques. So like if what I've written there is not quite working, maybe somebody else has a tweak or two that you can use to tweak it, and then suddenly it works for you. That's what I'm trying to build here, is a community for all of us to be positive and help each other. Dealing with a spouse, and when I say that, I see it a lot. I actually just had a client on Friday that I dealt with, where every time he tries to do something, wants to go back to school. All she does is comes out of negativity, like, you're just wasting money, you're not that smart, you're just going to drop out, you're just going to stop, like you do with everything else. I've also seen that with men that do that to the women and to their children. I saw a mother was very controlling and did that one time. You got to find ways to deal with it. So if you feel it's an option to walk away and never contact your parents again, hey, that's your choice. My father was very negative with me. I love my father. I respect my father. I understand 100% where he's coming from, but his approach is very negative. And we don't communicate a lot because he doesn't like that. I don't like how he talks to me. And it is what it is, but we talk every now and then. But you have to find a way to change their mindset too, if you want that relationship. So there's probably more choices if I really think about it, but let's go with the situation of you're dealing with your spouse or your mother or your father. So you want them to stop the negativity. Well, you have a couple of choices. One, you can dedicate enough time to it like you do with your job and everything else, because you're changing your life and your mindset. You can sit down and every time you talk to them, try and get them to start thinking more positively. Don't throw it in their face, but call them out on it. It's like, hey, you're being negative. I don't like that. That's very bad. Can't you say anything positive? You know, try and find a way to flip it to a positive mindset. They're either going to work or they're just going to keep doing it and it's going to cause more problems. You can just totally remove yourself from the entire situation and just have no contact, no interaction with them, which, depending on the circumstances, most of the time I don't recommend, because that's your parent or that's your spouse. You're involved. And the third is you just limit your interaction and just put up with it. I see that a lot. I don't agree with it, but I'm kind of facing the same thing with my own father. I just put up with whatever he has. It's a generation gap. So I've tried, when I do talk to him, I try, but I do limit my interaction with him. So I'm doing a combination. You can do that. Same thing with the spouse. Sit down, point out different things to each other. Do it respectfully. It's like, hey, I really don't like how you talk to me this way. I would really appreciate if you would be more positive, because we need to be more positive. We need to quit the negative. One of the things I found with my wife that killed a lot of confrontation issues that we had due to simple misunderstanding was, about 10 years ago, we sat down, we had a big old fight over one of the stupidest things in the world, because she misunderstood something that I said. We were discussing, what were we discussing? Oh, we were just having a conversation about music. We were talking about the Beatles and the Bee Gees. And the Beatles have an album called Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Band. And so they took all of that music from that album and turned it into a movie, a musical movie. And the thing was yes, that was all the Beatles. But the band, the Bee Gees, were the ones who actually sang all of the songs and did the acting. They were the stars of the movie Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Band. And I pointed that out to my wife, and it turned into a big old fight because she was just zeroed in on, that's the Beatles, it's nothing but the Beatles. And so we had a big drop down, drag out fight over that, which almost ruined everything over something stupid. And to me, that was stupid to have a fight over that. But I see stuff like that and worse all the time. So we sat down and talked and decided that we're going to put a few rules in place and go from there, because we have children. And so we worked on it, and damn, I'm already going past what I wanted to do. But okay, so anyway, back to this real quick. We put some rules in place to where we are going to sit down and talk. We're going to discuss things and fully listen to each other and communicate. We're going to, rules everything. And it also got to the point to where I started asking her when she would come home from work, because she's a massage therapist, so she deals with a lot of negative energy from dealing with people all the time. And so one of the rules I implemented that she absolutely adores, that we use to this day, was when she comes home, I say, "Did you have a good day?" And she'll tell me yes or no, or yes and no, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll tell her, say, okay, do you need me to just be the sounding board for you to vent? Or do you want me to actually help you with solutions? If she wants me to help with solutions, then yes, I'm in problem solving mode. I listen to her. We try and work things out. If she just wants to vent, then I just sit there and let her vent. And I'll make little comments like that bitch or that asshole or whatever. And just because I'm listening to her, despite all of that, even though she's venting, I'm still listening to her. And like last night, she came in, I asked her that. She said, I just want to vent. She sat down next to me, vented for about 10 minutes, gave me a kiss on the cheek, went, took a shower, and that was the end of it. And she was fine. No problems, no issues. Most people the women come home or the guy comes home and they start talking, and nobody has set up stuff like that. It surprises me how many people don't even think on that level to ask about that. Hey, are you dealing with a situation that you need help solving that's very frustrating? Or are you just in vent mode? If you're in vent mode, cool, vent, let's go on from there. But I see others that they'll come out as vent and then they get pissed off because you're not trying to help problem solve. And that's where the situations come in, to where you need to specify. And then if they flip that, you say, you said you only wanted to vent. So now you're saying you want to problem solve? Cool, I can help you. Just be more clear. They'll take that wrong too. Some people are just so negative, so aggressive that it's almost like they're looking to fight 99% of the time. And that is one of those people that I call very toxic, very negative, that I cut out of my life. My whole program there goes through all of this, walks you through step by step. These are just posts that were put out a little bit at a time. Some are like, take the week to research this. Some say take a day or two. I'm turning this into a much better format as an ebook, possibly even a teaching type webinar. It's relationships, and a relationship is not just, with a spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, your parents, your children. Your relationship is with your friends, your coworkers, society in general. You have a relationship with how you interact with people on social media on many levels. You have relationships everywhere, and how you deal with them is huge. And it all comes down to communication and understanding and like that. And so you have to program your mind, because if you're always around negative and you're always thinking negative, then even when somebody comes at you and they're having a bad day but they're trying to be polite, and they come in and they've got kind of a frowny face because something just happened or something's on their mind, and you talk to them and they're like, hey, how you doing? You're going to I've seen it happen. I'm guilty of it. I've done it because I was in a bad mood and I let it get to me, and somebody was already there and they're like, oh, hey, how you doing? I'm good. And I took it the wrong way because I was too busy wrapped up in my mind. I was too busy engulfed in being negative. And so I snapped back. It was like, oh, what are you biting my head off for? I just asked you how you were doing. I see it all the time. People are not being conscious. They're so self-absorbed. And that is not good for a relationship. You have to cooperate with each other for your relationship, especially with your children, your parents, your spouse, like that, your boyfriend, girlfriend, excuse me. If you're trying to have that level of relationship, you have to be able to cooperate. You have to be willing to cooperate. You have to be willing to listen and everything. It's bad. So, it's bad. You have to be willing to communicate, to listen, to cooperate, to work through things. If you can't, you're going to have nothing but issues. You're going to keep having the same failures. You have to program your mind, retrain your mind to be more positive in every aspect of life. Otherwise, the negativity is going to keep you going. Go to my Facebook page, to facebook.com/MML101. That's Manage My Life 101, MML 101. And scroll down and take the little course. Just see how it helps you. It'll surprise you. I promise you, it'll surprise you. Giving a shout out to everybody. This went way too long. I apologize. I only meant like 10 minutes, but some of these things just happen. Y'all take care. Be safe. Love y'all. And we'll talk to you again next time.